All right. So I wanted to talk about table setup a little bit. Um, there's a lot of questions about what makes a good heavy gear table. So a lot of this comes down to opinion, and it can be subjective. So take all of this with a grain of salt. These are this is kind of my vision of what a good table is, um, and why I consider this a good table. And by the way, if you consider this a bad table, I will not be offended. Uh, but I'll break down why I call this a good table. So it's a small 4x4 table. So we're talking 100 TV usually. You can certainly do 50 TV or you can certainly do 150 TV on this to make it different. But the main thing is I've got this big thing right in the center. So whenever I start deploying forces, it's kind of hard to get a bead from across the table. So that way, like if these two models were to maneuver against each other, they at least have the first round where they can move around freely and against their opponents, so to say, without taking a bunch of fire. Now that also makes the first rounds a little slower too, and that's why I say, to each their own when it comes to tables. Some people want more gunshots or more firepower raining down on the first turn. Um, but with this table in particular, uh, as far as the individual terrain pieces, I pick things based off the size of the miniatures. So like in heavy gear, of course, we've got our grizzly here. It's 2 inches tall. This wall is 2 inches tall. I did that deliberately so that anything 2 inches or shorter can use this feature. Meanwhile, if you come out here at the more extreme angles and go for a flank, you can use these things as cover, but they'll always be partial cover. Because yeah, you can see how this hunter is just barely taller. I can see over the top. I could actually make these things bigger so that you can get full cover, but I've kind of done that deliberately on both sides. Anything that's 1.5 inches hangs out here. It's only going to be partial cover. This is partial cover in here for those 1.5 inches. Now you get something that's smaller, like 1 inch tall. Now they can start using this stuff as full cover. And it's kind of same thing on the other side. As far as back here, just some generic stuff to give something as a starting point because I've got that 12-inch line kind of right there. So basically, when I deploy on either side, if I'm on that side or the other side, I've kind of got all that stuff that I can start from behind something and not be exposed. Um, but yeah, every time I've played on this table, I've always had a good game, win or lose. It's always fun. The middle can be a bit of a predicament because you're either climbing the walls, going through the door, or coming in from the side. So there ends up being this kind of a weird skirmish that happens on the inside, and then of course there'll be a skirmish on the left side and the right side. Um, but yeah, that's one example.